That's right.
These are creatures of a vile internet of like the worst of the worst. And these people have not even been confirmed. They are not officials.
MAGA conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer has wormed her way back into the good graces of Donald Trump, and now she is directly affecting policy. Francesca Fiorentini and Wajahat Ali broke all this down on their show. We're going to take a look at clips of that. I have my own thoughts to share as well. Let's get into it together.
What's going on in Loomerland? What? Yeah, what's going on with right-wing influencer Laura Loomer? You thought she was just Timu Melania. You thought she was just having a little bit of a fling with Donald Trump on the campaign trail, and maybe she was iced out of the inner circle, and you would be wrong, because it turns out Laura Loomer, a right-wing 9/11 conspiracy theorist, open racist, said the Oval Office would smell like curry should Kamala Harris be elected. She has, I guess, personal firing power within the NSC, the National Security Council. Trump fired 6 NSC officials after an extraordinary meeting in the Oval Office with far-right activist Laura Loomer, who laid out a list of people she believed were disloyal to the president. They were described by one U.S. official who had direct knowledge of the matter. The decision came after Ms. Loomer vilified the staff members by name during the meeting on Wednesday, where she walked into the White House with a sheaf of paper attacking the character and loyalty of numerous NSC officials. However, none of the people she attacked, Waj, was Michael Waltz. She did the guy who added the journalist to
and also Francesca, as we've discussed on the show, we found out in the past week, because Signalgate has, God bless Signalgate, the door has not closed. There's just gems being dropped. Still uses Gmail for government emails, and uses Venmo publicly like Mike Gates. He didn't learn the lesson. And we know Pete Hegseth shared military plans and lied about it. But none of those people got fired.
No, the people fired were Brian Walsh, Senior Director of Intelligence, Maggie Doherty, Senior Director of International Organizations, Thomas Boudry, the Senior Director for Legislative Affairs. None could be reached for comment. In other words, any of the people who probably wouldn't have added a journalist to a Signal chat to talk about war plans on Yemen were fired. Say what you will about them, and obviously Laura Loomer's critiques are that they're neocons. They were considered to be too hawkish, too eager to commit American troops around the world, and fundamentally at odds with Mr. Trump's America First foreign policy. The agitators have used the phrase neocon, short for neoconservative, to describe many of those staff members working for Mr. Walz, again, who is still in office, tried to defend these people, but he's the director.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to stop the firing of his people from a right-wing influencer who once chained herself to Twitter headquarters. Like, what are we doing here? Like
this, if the murder-suicide of the U.S. economy by Trump wasn't the leading news, this would be the leading news. That was a tweet by Zach Beecham of Vox, and I reshared it. I'm like, on point, because folks, let's just spend a little bit of time with this. It's important. Laura Loomer, as Francesca said, is not just your garden variety MAGA nut. She is so nutty that Marjorie Taylor Greene, yes, her of Jewish space lasers fame, looks at her and says, she is a racist lunatic. When you've lost Marjorie Taylor Greene, you become Laura Loomer. I've been following her career for a while, unfortunately, not because I'm a masochist, even though I am, because, spoiler alert, I am Muslim, a brown-skinned man, and Laura Loomer has emerged as one of the most notorious, hateful anti-Muslim bigots, a woman who calls herself a proud Islamophobe, a woman who took joy in the deaths of those refugees who drowned in the Mediterranean, a woman who, as Francesca mentioned, chained herself to Twitter headquarters because when Elon Musk didn't run it, her conspiracy theories were so batshit and so unhinged, they took out her account, and she led that protest. A 9/11 truther, Francesca, and tell him how reekish this administration is with that little. Tell him who was in that meeting today.
It looks like not only was it, so it was only 30 minutes. She's got a sheaf of paper, which is wild. 30 minutes. That's all it took for Laura effing Loomer to get 4 people fired. JD Vance was there, vice president. Obviously, Michael Waltz was there. He was a little late, apparently. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Sergio Gore, head of personnel, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, whose own brother died in 9/11 in the attacks. And this woman is a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. Like, it's just like, what, none of these people could stop it. And that's how you know, Waj, in my opinion, I mean, the president, it's coming from the president. This is coming from like the top dog to be like, whatever.
Can you imagine what these other, I mean, they're unserious people as well, J.D. Vance and all the rest of them, Pete Hegseth and everything, and God, that Lutnick. They're unserious people and unqualified people, but they've got to be thinking, what the hell? This YouTuber, Laura Loomer, is able to tell Donald Trump who to fire? It's absolute insanity. And I'm trying to think of somebody who would be an example, a comparison on the left, and I can't think of somebody, and I'm not making this comparison because they aren't conspiracy theorists and vile people like Laura Loomer, but imagine when Joe Biden was in office, if Francesca Fiorentini or Wajahat Ali or Sam Cedar or, any of these other online people on the left had contacted Joe Biden and said, yeah, we want you to fire these people. Here's this list of people that I want you to fire. And Joe Biden was like, okay, we'll do it. I mean, basically nothing is unexpected or a surprise, I guess, at this point. But it's just, we're just in an alternate universe where a far-right conspiracy theorist YouTuber directly has the president's ear to fire people and do who knows what else policy-wise.
Whatever she says goes. And I don't know. I mean, there's an interesting little rift in MAGA of like the people who are actually America first and actually like isolationists. Those happen to be like the Loomers, the Bannons, who are also rabid racists, but they don't like the idea of wars abroad. I just want to posit to them Israel. They never have anything to say about Israel. In fact, they're hook, line, and sinker with the rest of the neocons about Israel. Israel, who is the country that is not only dragging us into / we are supporting their ongoing war or genocide on the people of Gaza, the broader war on the people of Palestine, but are wanting to drag us into a war with Iran, salivating at the chops. My prediction has been since Donald Trump was reelected, we will be attacking Iran within a year. And so I just, it's all very funny as you're like, yeah, are you getting rid of the neocons? Except you're not actually going at the real issue here, which is Israel's dragging us into broader wars. And you seem to be super happy to do that. That's just not that anyone wanted to have that discussion, but that's sort of where I come down on this.
But two things based on what you said. There's factions within factions, right? Because in the America First faction, they're saying, stop wasting money abroad. Spend that money here. Stop doing these wars like Canada and Greenland and like, Yemen strikes. No, we don't want that neocon hawkish stuff of post 9/11. And then within that, like you said, Israel exception, but you're seeing a split with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And so whoever has Trump's ear last, right? For those of you who have followed Trump's psychology and what Trump does, why he does it, whoever gets in his ear last, he oftentimes literally repeats what they have said to him in front of the microphone, which is why it's always topsy-turvy. So Tucker openly is saying, why are we going to go to war with Iran for Israel? Candace is saying it, right? Then you have these little splits, which, by the way, I encourage this divide and conquer. Yeah. But you take a step back, folks, Signalgate is a huge controversy, all right? Hegseth lied to us. Michael Waltz is incompetent. This is not the first time they have used an unsecure app to discuss confidential information. All of them were aware because the Pentagon itself sent a memo saying Signal is unsecure, could be hacked. One of the people who was the envoy to the Middle East was in Russia during this conversation. An individual literally sucked into the phone of Michael Waltz. I'm using his own language. Jeffrey Goldberg. And like Jeffrey Goldberg then goes, okay, I probably shouldn't be here. Bye. They still kept doing it. Yeah. Begs itself how many other conversations they've had. Who has been exposed? Have other journalists been invited? Have foreign countries hacked it? Pete Hegseth, why did you lie about sharing military strikes? So someone should have been fired the past 2 weeks. Donald Trump, knowing his psychology, follows the Roy Cohn method. Never admit you're wrong. Deflect, 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 attack, attack, attack. Even Republicans were like, Dave Portnoy, Tommy Lahren were saying someone's got to go. Michael Waltz was that guy who was supposed to go. Donald Trump refuses to apologize. Caroline Levitt just 2 days ago said Signalgate is over. And then it was Laura Loomer, not, JD Vance, not, some of the professional people on his staff. He ignored all of them. It was Laura Loomer, this far-right nut, who somehow got a 30-minute private interview with the world's most powerful man with some sheets of paper. And when she told him to fire these 3 people, he goes, okay, I think Loomer's on it.
And it was 6 people. Sorry,
remarkable.
thank you for
thank you. 6. It was updated to 6. Thank you.
6 people. Got 6 people fired. None of them were responsible for Signalgate. I mean, it's just, and again, it is the same thing as letting Elon into the Oval, right?
That's right.
These are creatures of a vile internet of like the worst of the worst. And these people have not even been confirmed. They are not officials. And obviously the ones who are confirmed, clearly Michael Waltz, or who are cabinet members, are not doing much better. But like, this is so irresponsible. Like, I don't even, like, does the right not, you and I go on Piers Morgan and talk to these ghouls all the time. I'm like, do you see yourselves? Like, do you know, you looking at what they're doing here and who they're allowing in? And the question is, like, would they be okay if they were the right-wing influencer? If Tommy Lahren was the right-wing influencer who gets on the inside, who knows?
Well, you mentioned that, and just to put a pin on it and talk about how petty, insecure, vindictive, and unprofessional these people are, that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Laura Loomer beef was precisely because of that territoriality, because Loomer, if you remember, was awfully chummy with Donald on the campaign trail for a while. And Marjorie didn't like that at all. Folks, like I said, if we didn't have the murder-suicide of the U.S. economy to talk about, that would have been the biggest news.
And Wajahat Ali I was going to make this point if he hadn't made it at the end. He's exactly right with Marjorie Taylor Greene that I think it's way less about that she thinks Laura Loomer is a racist or too extreme. It's more that Marjorie Taylor Greene is jealous of Laura Loomer because she's been kind of pushed to the side and isn't one of Donald Trump's favorites, but Laura Loomer is. And like Francesca Fiorentini is saying, and Wajahat Ali, about the so-called notion that these right-wingers are anti-war, they're mainly anti the war between Russia and Ukraine. But if Trump gets in some other war, if he takes over Greenland or if we start bombing Iran, they're not going to care. They're not going to come out and, they might be saying now that he shouldn't do that. But if he does, if we start bombing Iran, all of the MAGA pundits are going to twist themselves into knots and logic pretzels to defend why we should be doing it, just like with the tariffs and with everything else. But what do you think about what Francesca Fiorentini and Wajahat Ali had to say here? Do you agree with them about this insanity that Laura Loomer is able to make policy with the president? This online conspiracy theorist. Or do you think Francesca Fiorentini's wrong and it's perfectly fine that Laura Loomer would do this? Let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I'm Chris on Culture, and I'll see you in the next video.